Egos are weird, aren't they? Especially when it comes to fighting. I've spent about 20 minutes of my life tossing a football and thought, in my head, being a quarterback could be easy. I acknowledge that it's probably way harder than it looks and I'm a bit delusional. Now imagine I double down on thinking it's easy and try to sub in for a quarterback in a football game. I'd probably get dusted in seconds because hey, I've not tried football that much. That's what it's like when street fighters think they can challenge actual fighters. People who even complete a free week trial in jiu-jitsu are far more likely to win a fight against someone who has an undefeated record in the street against other street fighters. In this video, we'll be looking at times when people who don't train or barely train lose to people who actually know a thing or two about fighting. Here is when street fighters got what they deserved. Like my mom told me, tattoos don't make people look cool or make them tough. I agree about tattoos not making a person tough, but nobody can tell me that my Avatar: The Last Airbender tattoo doesn't look absolutely gnarly. The man with the tattoos and the flashy look here was really cocky, and with not a lot of skill to back it up. The guy he's trying to intimidate is immovable and stoic, which usually either means he knows what he's doing or he watches too much anime. Though both can be true, we can verify that he does indeed know what he's doing. Watch the way this guy moves. He's so calculated in his defense that his opponent's pretty decent offense looks like trash in comparison. Every time the tattooed guy throws a kick, it's checked. Every punch he throws is blocked or slipped. Most importantly, every time the man who was calm throws a shot, it looks significant. His kicks almost send the tatted guy into a spiral each time, and the hands are very, very sharp. A right hand lands and drops the cocky dude. Well, formerly cocky dude. It's hard to feel tough, look tough, or act tough after getting dropped from a punch. The rest of the clip is more of the same. Some great, humbling, and entertaining justice served to a guy who is overly eager to fight for no reason. Shout out to Japan Fight Club on TikTok for this footage. We really appreciate it. How would you rate both of their skill sets? The cocky guy would have looked okay against a beginner probably, but not against a legit fighter as we saw. What might look pretty goofy to some can actually be a legitimate way of defending in boxing. The guy in the red is moving his head like a dashboard hula girl, and it might look a bit funky, but notice how he never gets hit clean. The other guy, using a hands-down, quick one-punch style, is getting tagged quite a bit in this bout. Both styles can work, but one man is clearly more effective with his skill set than the other. The guy moving his head a lot did a great job at making his opponent hit air for the most part. He was able to get his own licks in, but this wasn't a super uneven matchup. Both guys had their own swagger to them, but one certainly looked more like a boxer than the other. I double dare you to hit the like button. It's right there, and you might as well. While you're at it, make sure to subscribe. The pro here, who looks a lot like Makwan Amirkhani, is sporting the black shirt and really got to show his prowess just with his lead hand. He pumps some jabs to close the distance, feints across, and in doing so, got his opponent thinking while also loading his hips to throw some powerful hooks to the body. This is just bullying. The other guy had no answer and gave the boxer no reason to respect anything that could have been thrown at him. The boxer spam hooks to the body like me on UFC 5 online. People don't realize how quickly a boxer would handle them in a street fight, and this is a prime example of what would happen. Fight Club League posted this on their TikTok page. Be sure to check them out for more content like this. You know what's cool about boxing is that the levels to the sport are so obvious when people of two different skill levels are going at it. The shorter dude here really isn't that great, but in the face of someone who is straight garbage at fighting, he's out there looking like Lomachenko. The tall guy throws shots like he's fighting off a swarm of bees, And yeah, he's losing that battle as well. He can't find his opponent's chin at all, and that's to be expected considering he's essentially given the guy a 2 weeks notice for every punch he throws. For the most part, this is just a headhunting battle. Nobody's really throwing any diversity in their strikes, which is sad to see from the shorter guy. He attacks the body a little, but if he prioritized it more, things would have played out much more in his favor, and he would have gotten a clean stoppage earlier on. Our buddy in the pink gloves has heart, but unlike the movies, heart won't win any fight unless there's an equal or more amount of skill to couple with it. So yeah, this dude is just getting mopped up by a sloppy but better boxer. The fight is eventually stopped, and sure, it was cool to see this bout play out for as long as it did, but by using common sense and knowing this wasn't a legit competition, you could make the argument that this should have been stopped before the second round was even a thought. How do you think the shorter guy did here? Let us know down below.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up.
I'm shamelessly plugging in the fact that I've interviewed Blake Builder, the pro fighter with the long hair here. When someone wanted to test how good he really is, Blake had no problem with that at all. There's really not much to say here. I'm not going to wax poetic a one-shot knockout against a dude who can't fight after he challenged someone who's in the UFC, but I might a little bit. This was a super clean shot. You know how cool you feel when you just throw a straight shot in air hockey and the puck goes in? That's what I'd imagine this feels like. Well, maybe cooler, I don't know. I don't have knockout power, but I do have some pretty sick air hockey skills if Blake ever wants to run it at the arcade. The great equalizer in fighting is wrestling. You can know how to strike, you can know how to submit, but if you don't know how to stop or execute a takedown, then you really have no control as to where the fight takes place. Well, that kind of is shown here. The title on the video says that this is a wrestler versus a street fighter, but it looks more like an MMA gym 2-day trial class athlete taking on someone whose best fighting credential is that he won a Super Smash Bros. Tournament a few years ago. I don't write it. The dude in the blue gloves is bad, but better. The guy in the red gloves is just bad. Like bad. Consider this video a palate cleanser. Here's what fighting most of the time, but shouldn't, looks like. The guy in the blue gloves versus CM Punk at UFC 300. Who's your money on? Okay, this is another sloppy one, but it's much better than the previous video. The dudes here aren't the quintessential crisp strikers that you want in your MMA content, but as far as skill versus a lack thereof goes, this one isn't too bad. Both fighters have a little bit of a kicking game, but the dude in the lighter shorts is a bit better in that department. The hands seem to be pretty neutral. Nobody seems to be better or more impressive in that department. When our dude in the gray shorts gets his opponent's back on the wall and makes him stationary, he does what I like to call the Luke Rockhold game plan, which is to keep his opponent frozen at kicking range and spam kicks but to various parts of the body. Throwing kicks will make your opponent hesitant to throw punches, because kicks really need two hands to defend properly. But they can be hard to read, especially when they keep coming at different targets. One kick goes upstairs and rocks his opponent. Subsequently, more kicks and punches follow, and the referee gets involved. Overall, a pretty good performance. How's your roundhouse kick game? Okay, I'll be vulnerable with you all. My biggest fears, like things that I have nightmares of, are elevators, chimpanzees, and Muay Thai fighters that have a loud bark. Like, not a dog bark like a Knocked Loose song, but the noise they make on the exhale when throwing a strike. If some dude shoulder bumped me at a bar and threw a sloppy punch, that's not too scary. But if the sloppy punch was accompanied by an aggressive noise, yeah, let me apologize and buy the next drink. Also, here's my girlfriend's number. I'm so sorry. Both of these guys are pretty good, but the dude with the loud bark is a bit sharper, a bit more accurate, and a bit scarier. But that doesn't mean that the dude in the green shorts has nothing to offer. He's making reads on his opponent and trying to find out if there are any trends in his striking or in his defense. When he felt the time was right, he threw a naked head kick out there and jackpot. This was enough to put his opponent down and win the fight. Thanks to Street Beeps for this matchmaking and the content. Check out their channel to see more like this. So, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not going to talk about sex or gender or outfits. I'm here to talk fighting, so let's keep it at that. The guy in the black shorts was getting lit up on the feet. But once it came down to the grappling, they were a problem. This isn't an abnormal thing to see. I mean, look at Charles Oliveira. He's made a career out of getting dropped, and battering his opponents whenever they do choose to follow him to the ground. I mean, there are a few good exceptions. Good job, Islam Makhachev. This was a fun fight though. We love to see the back and forth battles, and this one sort of classifies as a clash of styles as well. Heavy grappler versus striker vibes from this clip.
There it is. There it is.
Some ribs.
Oh, good movement.
Street Beefs has brought us yet another banger to show us that there's a huge, huge difference between someone with a base knowledge of striking and someone who had a draw in a bar fight one time. The girl in the black gloves has a bullseye finder of a jab. Meanwhile, her opponent has no defense, and her only offense is to march forward looking to grapple. The lead hand of the striker just can't miss, and it's really the only tool she needed for this bout. Eventually, a check hook lands and drops the chick who has no idea how to fight, and hopefully knocks some sense into her, and she either finds a boxing gym or another hobby. Seeing as we live in a world of 3 dimensions, it's hard to fight anything that has only one side to it. I present to you this fight. As one-sided as it can get, the guy in the sweatpants and bright shoes opens up with a kick to knock his opponent off balance. His opponent was using the look calm to make it look like I can fight method, which is a stupid method. He then eats some punches and goes down because, of course he did. You can see that he actually was focused on another kick, and that opened up the hands for the dude who can strike. One thing about striking is you can't think too much. This guy was only worried about eating another leg kick, and when his opponent came back at him, he overreacted, and none of his movements were good for defense. As I said, one-sided. Have you ever eaten a leg kick? Tell us about your first experience with that in the comments section below, please. Well, this guy is angry. Before we get into the fighting, I want to point out that there's a sweet gray area for people doing backyard MMA. If you show up wearing a UFC Venom Gear fight kit, that's pretty cringe. However, one of these dudes is wearing swim trunks, and the other guy is wearing an outfit that just screams, Sunday morning, beer and cigarette. Wear something athletic, preferably the gear from a local MMA gym, but that's to assume more than 10% of these guys actually train. But yeah, no more roasting the outfits, back to the fight. This guy said his opponent hits like an expletive, but one could argue that he defends grappling and strikes like a dunce. Like, sure, that guy might not hit hard, but what's he gonna do? You know, not get hit by those unpowerful shots? Whatever, it's pretty funny. Okay, so how accurate was I in describing that guy's outfit? I think I'm spot on.
Back on the wall. There you go. Yeah.
What the heck is this? I know this isn't actually a dad versus his son, but influencer boxing has hit some pretty low lows. Both of these dudes are garbage, but this shows that a little bit of skill goes a long way. Again, none of these guys are good, and I'm hesitant to give anyone flowers here, but there was definitely a winner. Well, I don't know if winner is the right word. Someone got their hand raised, and it was the dude who made male pattern baldness a fashion statement. Yeah, the bald guy. Again, I don't write this. His opponent was trying his best to be a Pez dispenser, and honestly, he killed that cosplay. Great job. Trivia time. What martial art is the great equalizer? Hint, look at this clip. The answer is wrestling. I don't even need to see how this fight was going because we can see how it ended. One slam is all it took. Fun fact, Justin Gaethje won his MMA debut with no striking skills at all, but he slammed his opponent to get the KO win. Also, it was over Kevin Kroom, who we don't like due to him being the villain in a story that could be a drama series. Look it up. Oh, but yeah, great slam here. Have you done much wrestling? Hurts, doesn't it? Shout out to TBE Fight Club on YouTube for this footage. Are there rules in Street Beefs fights? I'm not sure, but I know I saw a very illegal kick on some dude who was trying a bit too hard to fight like Michael Venom Page. A right hand lands to counter a leg kick, and that's all this dude needed to get the knockdown. Now, the follow-up soccer kick was a bit much, and hopefully not legal, but yeah, it's a fight and things happen. Otherwise, this was a great punch and phenomenal performance for as long as it went. I love drama. Allegedly, the big dude with the fluffy hair jumped the other man's son. The bald guy is, I believe, the founder of Street Beefs, who we've used for a lot of entries on this video. So shout out to them for the content. Please go show them some love. But yeah, some dude jumped the founder's son and posted it online. He, unlike the other dudes who were involved, had the courage to show up and get what he deserved. And, well, it didn't end up well for him. What Street Beefs does well is they emphasize what we try to show in these videos. Street fighting is stupid, and oftentimes there's not a lot of skill. Learning to fight will not only lessen your desire to go fight in the streets, but it will help you avoid those situations. But as Street Beefs promotes, it's better to scrap than to get involved with something and have weapons pulled out over something silly. We applaud them. That does it for the video. How'd you like the content? Let us know down below. Be sure to like the video and share it. It really helps out the channel. What do you guys want to see next? Let us know. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to make sure you never miss a future upload. Catch you next time.